In this lesson, we're going to break apart all of our towers for our dynamic scene. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and start breaking all of these apart. We've made the adjustments that we needed to keep all of the objects from interpenetrating one another. And now we're ready to just fracture everything. So let's just select a tower. Let's go to Max Script and Run Script. Let's choose our Fracture Voronoi, version 1.1. Let's pick our tower. And I'm going to break these towers up pretty good. Okay, so this tower here, I'm going to break it up into, let's do about 75 pieces. Okay, let's give it a color. And I'm going to give my towers an orange color here. And let's do uniform color and then make sure that we're set to volume cells center. And let's break into 75 pieces. Wait for that to finish breaking. There we go. And let's go ahead and pick our next tower. Let's break that into 75 pieces. Change that color to orange. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to pick the orange color on this. I didn't exactly write that number down. So here we can just pick that and we'll hit OK and then break into 75. And you'll see that break into that orange color there. Okay, that tower is broken. Let's do this tower. Change that color to that orange. Let's pick that orange color again. Hit OK. Break into 75. There we go. Let's pick this last tower. Get that color. Hit OK. And then break into 75. Okay, so let's take care of these corner towers. Let's start breaking up which ones we want dynamic and which ones we want to be static. Now, I know that on my towers, what I want is most of these on this side, most of these are going to be static. Okay, I will allow the tops and most of the middle to be dynamic, but mostly up the side of the bridge, I want these to be static. Okay, and we'll break these up asymmetrically to kind of keep with a nice look and feel. Okay, so let's close this out. Let's do Edit, Select by Color. Let's choose that color there. And let's go ahead and set these to dynamic just for right now. Let's go to our Mass Effects tools. Let's set these to sleep mode. Go to concrete. And then change the mesh type to original. There we go. Now let's start deselecting the ones that we want to be dynamic. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just start deselecting a lot of these. And just starting out with this one tower, just making sure that most of it's going to be static. Okay. I want part of this bottom to be static, so that way whenever it breaks apart, part of it's still standing there. Let's go to this one. Let's do the same thing. I'm going to make this one, the static portions a little bit lower on the bridge, so that way it's not actually sticking up above the rails as much. Okay. I'm just alt-clicking these to get rid of the pieces. And we're just deselecting the ones we want to stay dynamic. We're keeping the ones selected, and we're going to change these over to static here in just a little bit. Alright, I'm happy with that, with the way that's looking. And let's go ahead and deselect pretty much all of these on this side. And I want this to be really low. Okay, most of the base is going to stay there. And we're just going to deselect these. Pretty happy with that shape there and what that's going to look like. And on this side, let's do even less. Let's allow a lot of these to be dynamic. Okay, we're just going to have a really small chunk. Okay, here at the bottom. All right, that looks good. So with these selected, let's change this over to static. And again, with those selected, let's create a selection set. So let's do ornate underscore towers underscore static. So that way we can select those if we need to. All right. Now that those are set, let's go ahead and take a look at our dynamics. Let's take a look at our simulation. So let's just start this and see if there's anything that we need to fix right now. Okay, the bridge begins to crumble. You can see some of the towers are falling apart. Those are crumbling quite nicely. Okay. We're going to see some of the different pieces flying around. Okay. Now these are sticking together pretty well. We might have to adjust the dynamics in there. Okay. Looking good. All right, I really like how this tower looks whenever it's finished. Okay, it looks mostly together, but it's really, really damaged. Okay, this one didn't move at all simply because we didn't have a rigid body actually touch it or fall into it. It looks like we might actually have this piece fall down into it. Maybe, just misses. That's okay. Let's go ahead and stop that, reset our simulation, and I'm going to move this ball over here to the right. Just kind of line it up with that tower, and let's start this simulation. Just make sure that this tower is going to crumble exactly the way we want. Looks good. That kinetic energy went ahead and transferred into the bridge, knocking down this tower as well. See that these rails are sticking together. Okay, breaking apart the rails. Got a nice bit of breakage here. Okay, this is slowing down a little bit. You know, it might actually help the viewport if you change this from realistic to shaded. It might help that a little bit. And you can also hit F4 to turn off the wireframe. And you might get a little bit better frames per second. If you want to see your frames per second in your viewport, you can hit 7 on the keyboard, and that should show you. Okay. So that's all breaking apart very, very nicely. Looking good. Some of these pieces are still trying to stick together, but like I said, the main portion of this is going to fall because of the statues falling and the chains falling down into it. So I'm really happy with the way this is breaking apart so far. Now I know that your project is not going to be the exact same as mine. You may not be seeing the exact same. So you just kind of have to go with what you like about your scene. Okay, make some changes to the different pieces for static or dynamic in this area, and just try to get the result you're looking for. Okay, because dynamics with that fracture max script, it's just not going to be exactly the same. Okay, there's going to be all kinds of different factors that are going to get your result. Your result may look better than mine. So, you know, this is the great thing about dynamics. Okay, we don't have to sit here and keyframe all of this happening. We get a simulation, and then we can actually export this into keyframes later on. But we'll talk about that in a later lesson. So, last thing that I want to do before we end this particular lesson is I want to test these towers over here. So, at first, I'm going to just have this ball hit the bridge, see what that affects, and then smash into the towers and see what that affects. So let's hit start. Let that ball fly into our bridge. Okay. We can see that that affects just the front part of our bridge, not really affecting our towers. Okay. Got a nice, neat little crumble there. See if we can get some of these pieces to fall back into our towers. Not really much of a shift. Okay. And that's okay. I'm still pretty happy with the way that bridge looks. Don't want as much destruction on that. Let's reset that, and let's go ahead and knock this ball into this tower. Start our simulation. And it looks like I actually missed the tower. Let's try that again. And let's just pull that up a little bit. Let's hit play. It keeps missing that tower. Pull that over and up. Alright, now let's hit play. Hopefully this will hit it. I forgot that it's kind of at a slant. And if it doesn't, I'll just keyframe it to where it does. Here we go. Hit our tower, but it looks like it hit on the static portion of the tower. So again, we're not going to get any reaction out of that. It's not going to transfer any kinetic energy. So that's just one thing that we have to remember there. All right, let's go ahead and go to this keyframe on 20. Let's hit auto key. And I'm going to pull this up in the Z pretty high. And hit OK. Let's hit play. And that hits our tower. Okay, I like how that's falling apart there. And we're going to have these pieces hit our bridge and will cause a different fracture here. You see the rails and the middle portion of our bridge is beginning to fall apart and crumble. And that one piece is just wreaking havoc across that rail there. Okay. Looking good. Got these pieces that are kind of sitting there, and I want to check on those. I'm not sure if those are static or if they're actually resting as dynamic objects. So let's just hit start and stop that. Let's select that one piece. And you'll see that this is set to dynamic, so it's just resting there. This is set to static. And I'm going to switch that over to dynamic. Let's check this large piece right here. That's also static. Let's set that to dynamic. I'm just not liking how that's sitting like that. Okay. Let's check this piece. That's dynamic. There's one right here in the middle, I believe. And let's change that to dynamic. So we should get a little bit of a different shape there. Alright, so let's reset our simulation. We could start that, just kind of look at that tower, see how that affects the brake. Okay, you'll see that now more of those pieces are falling apart. This is looking really good. I really like how those pieces are taking out that rail and the bridge and making it crumble. Just a lot of destruction right there. Okay, we've got part of our static bridge being broken. Okay, and it's just rolling across the top and just destroying that bridge there. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop our simulation. I'm really happy with that result. Those towers are working just fine. And now we're ready to go ahead and start getting this mid tower taken care of, but we're going to use a different method for breaking apart this mid tower.